what do you make of Helena, who in episode 4 of this season, where Irv, sort of uncovers her and sacrifices himself to blow the illusion of her being role playing as Helly. She seems very irreverent towards the whole Cohere thing, which you don't really see from the other. Like, you don't see that from Miss Cobell. You don't see that really from even Drummond. When in the finale when uh, the Brienne from Game of Thrones. I can't
Oh,
remember
yes, yes.
her character's name, but says, how many more, and Drummond kind of says, however many more the founder requires. So
Yeah.
again, it feels like she hasn't. My impression was she didn't drink the Kool-Aid in the same way. Helena may not have drank the Kool-Aid essentially in the same way that the others we've seen in the Cohere Lumen ecosphere
Mm,
have. I don't know what does that bring
yeah.
up for you?
I
Yeah.
think in the Ortbo episode when we see the like most direct Helena pretending to be Helly here, which is also just a whole fascinating thing, right? And she fully is laughing at this story of Dieter and Kier story that we hear here, which also tangent. I saw again in some sort of video that Dieter Egan is an anagram for like AI intelligent, not intelligence, but like AI human or something. That's it's not.
Really?
There's something about there's some anagram there that I'm like that's another fascinating thing. That's like who knows what that is, but in her like fully laughing at this story, I don't think that Helena has drinking the Kool-Aid in the drunk the Kool-Aid in the
I don't know.
same
Yeah.
way that everyone else seems to have. However, I don't think she's as irreverent as she is kind of pretending to be. I think it's almost a way for her to play dress up a little bit. See, when Helena learns that Helly is Helly and kind of took over her body and is deciding to pretend to be Helly and go back in, that she's studying all this footage, right? She looks at the clip of Helly and Mark kissing at the end of season 1, and my idea is that, well, she probably studied all of the footage they have on Helly, right? Otherwise, how does she really pretend to be this person? And of course, she can't fully be someone that she's not. She doesn't have the experiences Helly has. But I think that there's something almost like taboo exciting, like exciting and naughty in this certain way of her being able to play at, I hate this. This is disgusting. This is the worst thing I've ever heard. That's so ridiculous. Without having to feel the natural consequences of that, because anyone from the Egan family, from Lumen, that's watching Helena through footage or whatever, or that knows that she's actually Helena pretending to be Helly, knows that she's pretending to be Helly. So is this actually Helena's thoughts? No. She has a free pass to fully criticize in whatever way she wishes. And so I almost think that reaction, it felt really heavy-handed to me, actually. It felt like an overreaction to something that I was like, in watching it, it's like that just, it seems, yeah, it's a weird story. It's really odd, but how is that any more odd than anything else
Yeah, right.
we've seen or experienced? And this is the thing that garnered that reaction. I almost think it's like, I don't know if Helena actually believes that, or if she's kind of playing around with how these things feel. With, does this feel right? Do I actually feel that way? Or is it just kind of like when you're allowed, like you get cast as the bully or you get cast as the villain in a play, you get to kind of experience what that side of yourself is in a safe way. And so I think it's given her safety to explore those things. I don't know if Helena's actually come to a conclusion about it yet or not. I think she is very much in this liminal space between the two, which I think speaks to the fact that, we haven't really seen Helly all that much in season 2. We really only saw Helena. We're supposed to believe that Helly was put back after Irv tries to kill Helena in the Ortbo episode. I know we've talked a bit. We're both suspicious that that's actually even Helly. And I would argue that Helena has reintegrated, and now, as Mark says in the finale episode of season 2, Helena, we have this reintegration that we see now. That's kind of my thought. So I think it really is about this, like, there's no longer the black and white of Helly and Helena. There is this gray, and I think Helena's character arc has kind of taken on this, is Lumen good or bad? Because yes, they're the ones that have created this horrible, horrible thing. They're the villain in season 1. In season 2, by the end of season 2, we need Lumen in order for the innies to survive. I don't know who the villain is anymore.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so a lot to talk about there.
I know. I feel like
so much. Yeah. I mean, honestly, this could be like, I feel like we may need 2 of these and just like have to cut and paste a little bit, because honestly, there is so much to talk about here. So rewatching it last night actually changed my mind a little bit. Not 100% on Helly Helena. But so rewatching it right after he completes the 100%, and we have that absolutely marvelous interaction between the statue of Cohere and Milchek, and then we have just mind-blowingly incredible HSBC, HBCU rather, marching band with Milchek leading. I to me, that's an all-time iconic scene when that band comes.
So
in.
iconic.
But if watching it and the band plays Cohere, the praise Cohere song that Cobell sang, Golden One Cohere, but if you notice something, I watched this several times. So they finished that song, they put up like the 100% with Mark's face on it in cards, but right when that happens, there's the B flat, I think it is, ding. Okay, before, and then it transitions to James Egan walking out of an elevator. But if you watch it, the bing occurs before he goes before the scene shifts to him in the elevator, about a second before. You hear bing, pause, then the scene shifts to him in the elevator. So I had 2 theories on this. One is because, first of all, the sound in this show is incredibly intentional. So you could argue, maybe there's a little bit of discontinuity, or they did, but sound is so like on point. So there's a reason they did that ding before they showed the scene of James walking out of the elevator. So my question is there's 2 possibilities, right? One is that because that ding always represents somebody going from outie to innie.
Right.
So the question is who turned into an innie there, or changed, because it was that where Helly turned into Helena, or when James Egan went down, did he change into somebody else? Because he seemed very different in his little cubicle while he was watching the proceedings than he normally did. He was more alive. I mean, he even screamed "fuck," remember, like he showed emotion, which he really kind of didn't in the fetid moppet, and he was very weird. So I wonder if maybe that when he went down, he actually turned back into himself, and that normally he's severed, essentially. Like his innie was his true person, because why that being is intentional. I don't know what it was for. So that was one thing I noticed. The second thing I noticed in terms of the bad guy, right? We're all, they're setting us up that Lumen, is evil, right? Again, regardless of the innie survival and so forth, which I agree with. But as Gemma and Outie Mark are leaving the severed floor after he rescues her from Cold Harbor, They get in the elevator, and as they're doing this, the doctor is running after them, right, to try to stop them. They lift the legs of Drummond, and the door closes. The last thing he says is, "You're going to kill them all." Now, what if he's right? So we're assuming he's full of shit because everything we've heard from Lumen seems to be full of shit. I wonder what if that were true?
Yeah.
So what if everything there's like Lumen is literally trying to save humanity for some reason? Because the outside world is weird, right? I mean, there's weird things, 80s cars, all of this other stuff. I mean, again, so we talk about good and evil or right and wrong, who's good, who's evil here. What if this doctor is actually correct? And they are, and I don't know what that would look like, but that was something else I noticed. And then, so at that end scene, which I think we need to spend a little bit of time talking about, because, and you and I had talked about it a little bit back and forth in terms of outie versus innie here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's three possibilities at the end of the which people are up in arms about. People have their strong opinions of how they felt about that final scene with Gemma
Right.
truly being Gemma outside the door, Innie Mark hesitating between Gemma and not Gemma, and then we see Helly / Helena / Helena, there. So those are the three possibilities. I don't know, which one do you want it to be? Like, do you? We don't know, but do you have if you had your pick, which would you pick?
Yeah, that's such an interesting and gracious question. Thank you. I think for a simple, easy, nice narrative that makes Reese the viewer feel really comfortable with the message of the show, I really want Lumen to be the bad guy. I really, really want Lumen to be the bad guy, and this to be Innie, Mark, and Helena. I really do like the idea of, and this could be because of my own personal projection and working on the kind of marriage of shadow self and light self and bringing them together and having them walk as friends. And I think that from that feminine archetype perspective, I would really love that journey for Helena, and Helena, and which I'll now use to kind of describe the reintegrated two aspects, and Innie Mark to be running into Lumen and then be able to take it down somehow. With Helena's knowledge of how it works, they're actually now running down the hallway, and because it's Helena, they're going to be able to do something that saves everyone, solves the problem, saves the day. Bing, bang, boom, we're good. As a human who understands that things are really complex and has a lot of appreciation for this show, I think I would also be really disappointed if that's the tack that they take, because we've seen time and time again that this show is not going to take the easy road out, and everything has subtle meanings and messages. I think, of course, the anti-capitalist message is not, like anyone watching the show, that message is not going over anyone's head. But I do think there is something to the idea that, like, you can't just burn it all to the ground and expect it to be fixed. Like, we have to make small incremental changes towards good, because starting from zero, like, who's to say the exact same corrupt system can't come again, right? How do you use the things we have learned from Lumen, from the way it's been operated, and try and make it better? I think with
Right,
this,
like why do they have to treat the innies like dicks? Like,
right?
why do they have to be? I mean, like, none of them seem to be. They all seem very innocent, right?
Yeah.
So why not treat them well instead of subjecting them to these, the break room and
Yeah.
like why? I mean, you treat them well, and they have they enjoy life. You take them on they have the ability to take them on Ortbos. Like,
Right.
those could be rewards. Yeah, I
And
agree
not
with you.
terrifying like this one.
Right, exactly. Like, what with the
Yeah.
weird, people pointing and
Right.
yeah, I think it's interesting.